there's no foul language or anything that could be non-constructive. So please make sure that this is a good session for everybody who is taking part. There'll also be a meetup mail coming out with feedback, and we'd be really happy if you want to answer that one, because we always want to learn and find ways to get better. And that's basically all I want to say. And then take the floor, Martin, and thank you so much for coming and enlightening us on how we can use AutoGen and agents.
Yes, I will do my best. I will just set up my screen so I share it and set up the actual presentation. And just to be very meta, I think I'll start off my presentation once it actually starts. I have to do this and here. If it starts by talking a little about what I'm going to say. So yes, may the bots be with you. And the intent of this presentation, which I hope has also been clear in the small description, which is now rolling up Star Wars style on your screen, is to not so much do the look all the crazy stuff we can do with the AI. I think we have enough of good people showing that on LinkedIn and YouTube. There is also the coding version of look how well I can code with AI. I will show a little on how to set up AutoGen in the last part of the presentation. But the main focus that I hope to reveal here is really more on the use case, because I honestly think that very often people has a tendency to do the other two, and that's fine. But we also need to really look into how are we actually going to use it. And I think that's a better way to spark a debate and a talking about opening up for questions. So the agenda that we are looking at will be first, who is the gas agency, the little commercial break. And then I'll go into how I see shopping online today and how I see it done tomorrow. And then utilizing that case for walking down through the hood of what that entails, so that we in the last part of this talk will join in and say, okay, here is where we use the API calls, the large language models, the data, and AutoGen. So it's just to give you a warning that it's more on this use case that I will be talking rather than the other angles. Now, another warning is that the sound, there's parts where we let the presentation talk itself. I mean, we do have AI, so we can just let them do the talking. However, by testing this, we found out it was very, very low. So the next part, which is the small commercial break that is always in these kind of presentations where I present the gas agency, and the AIs can do that better than I can, then be aware, even if it's very, very quiet, there should be a sound. And so, yeah.
At the heart of Dagaz agency lies the ancient rune Dagaz, a beacon of positive transformation and a herald of dawn after darkness. It is this very essence of hopeful change and progress that forms the bedrock of our company. Built upon this foundation are our three pillars, each embodying the transformative spirit of the Dagaz rune. Our first pillar, Dagaz Answers, is where wisdom meets action. Like the Answers rune, it represents our consultancy that guides companies through the labyrinth of digital transformation, merging AI technology with visionary strategies for profound and positive change in their operations. Our second pillar, Dagaz Jera, is inspired by the Jera rune, which signifies the harvest and the bountiful fruition of a cycle. In this division, we nurture the seeds of innovation, developing AI solutions that anticipate and meet commercial needs, ensuring that our clients thrive and benefit from our technological acumen. The third pillar, Dagaz Othala, resonates with the Othala rune, a symbol of heritage and legacy. This pillar represents our commitment to the future. As we invest in startups on the frontier of AI innovation, our support goes beyond funding. We empower companies that share our vision for pioneering change that benefits both business and society. These pillars stand as a testament to our mission at Dagaz Agency, to drive positive transformation in the world through AI. Each pillar, while distinct, is interconnected and integral to the robust structure of innovation and progress that we continually build. Together, under the banner of the Dagaz rune, we march towards a future where positive transformation is not just an ideal, but a tangible reality for all.
Yeah. Now was the commercial break over, and now you can probably hear something again. Again, my apologies for the sound. But let's go down into the case that I would like to talk about today. So, shopping online, and what I want you to imagine is in reality to take this very we all know how shopping online is done, but let's take it into the brick and mortar store, because if we put it into a different environment, we can probably see some of the issues that there could be in that. However, let's just remember what the experience in the past was looking like, or how the feeling of it was supposed to be. The good shopkeeper who's caring of his customers and giving a good and warm welcome and experience all along. Once we came to online shopping, we had this picture that everything should be, just going straight and fast and really run. You just needed whatever and you got it the minute after. But in reality, if we take our shopping experience online, it's quite different. Because if we take it into a brick and mortar store, what would be the first thing you would met with, even before you enter the shop, would be a sign that you have to sign off of cookie policies. So even before you are allowed to open the door, you have to have this negative interaction with the shop, knowing that from now on you will be spied and and not only for shoplifting in this particular shop, but also in the following shops. And once you come into the shop, it would be in reality an empty room, more or less. There would be probably a table in the middle of the room with a book where you could look through pictures and see if there was something you like. Nobody to serve you, nobody to guide you, and no products that you can really have a look on. And in reality, I think, even though of course it's a little cartoonish picture of how shopping is, I think it's good to take that picture and say, okay, couldn't we do this better? Couldn't we utilize and come back to the idealized system or a view we had of the cozy small shop who was taking care of us? And in reality, that's the case that I'm trying here and will be trying to present the layers of this case, so that you can see where the agents can come in and help us do something in a better way. Now, the next thing I'm going to show is how people are greeted on our mobile site, mobile phones only, for Archie, one of our small sister companies. And again, this is a sound from the presentation, so maybe be a little loud, quiet, but please have a look.
Hello and welcome to our mobile site. I'm Archie, your virtual assistant, ready to help you with any questions or needs you may have. Whether you prefer to chat or type, I'm here to provide you with information, guidance, and support. Feel free to ask me anything, anytime. Let's make your experience here amazing. How can I help you?
Now, this is of course in resemblance to what we actually saw with the shopkeeper in the beginning. This is what we want to do, and of course, if people greet us on a lab, it's slightly different. But what I'm going to do now is go through what is happening here under the hood, what is the different layers that we need to take care of, and all the way down in the bottom comes AutoGen, and I will then present why we have AutoGen and a little about how to install it and these kind of things. So it's just to give you an idea of how this is structured. Because the first part of the presentation that you saw is of course the visual part. And the reason why we have a synthetic human meeting you and greeting you is in reality of a number of reasons for the users who is coming to our site. We know that the expectations on how you would interact with a chatbot has really been set in the past, where it wasn't large language models, which was behind the chatbots, which meant that the capabilities of the chatbots, if it was a real bot, then it was, please reformulate your question in simple terms so I can understand, which means that it was hard for you to really come into the depth of the questions that you had. And the other option was that, wait 5 minutes because a real person is sitting and chatting with you behind the scenes. We want to have the latter situation visualized, presented, because we want the people engaging with our chatbots to know that they can do the same kind of complicated questioning and expect the same kind of services that you would have if a real person was sitting and guiding and writing with you. So that's why we have the visual layer. The next layer that we is having is, of course, we need to train our AIs. Now, our AIs, we can't take a large language model and just put it up raw into a chatbot. We need for us to train it so it knows the tone of the company that it's presenting. It knows the issues that could be at hand, and it does know something about the products that it's representing or the services that it's representing. So that's the next layer, that we actually are considering how to train our bots before we actually are deploying them out in the wild. But it's not only the tone language, but it's also the flow of the conversation. It's also the ensuring that we are doing this in the right manner. And the reason why we have water here is that is one of the issues that we are dealing with, because we can't control it in the old-fashioned way of doing and computing, where you are saying if then that. This is a little more fluid, but we will have situations where we can, for instance, entail that it would be meaningful for if a person wants to buy a product, then maybe a form for filling out the requirements for where to send it and so on. It may be you have somebody who wants to have set up a meeting or booking something. So these kind of situations has to be dealt with within the flow of our conversations. So we should enable our bots to be able to take these measurements as they come along the way. And now we are going to the back end and the data and the infrastructure. And that's actually where AutoGen is coming in. And this is actually AutoGen in its old version, or the code only version. I will show a different user interface later on. But the idea here is that we have, through our conversation with our customers, we have unstructured data. And unstructured data has normally been something by all means, because the way we have interacted with the computer until now has in many ways been that humans should adapt to the needs of the computer and not the other way around. And what the new paradigms and the new capabilities we have with large language models is that we have actually a situation where we can turn it around and make the computer adapt to the humans and not the other way around. So we need to take an unstructured data conversation, a natural conversation, but we know that inside of that conversation there will be possibly be situations where we need to make sure that actions are taken that serve certain of our backbones structures and systems are fed with information and data. But we need to have that information analyzed, and it's unstructured. So we need to have a tool for doing that. And this is actually where we see one of the benefits of having AutoGen in place. Because the fifth layer, when we are now only having this conversation, the bot and everything which has happened until the minute that it hits all the other systems that a normal company, a normal website, a normal web shop is consisting of. We know that there are certain information that has to come into the customer data platforms, and certain which has to be for the emails, and certain, I mean, we know that these data has to be directed in different directions and taken care of. And again, this is where we need to have not humans looking through the data, not humans sitting and making summaries of what has been said, but having the agents to take their toll and doing the work for us so that they can feed the different systems. And that is then why I enjoyed and were glad for having the possibility of presenting AutoGen. I have AutoGen on my Ubuntu computer, and this is not my Ubuntu computer that I'm doing this on. So it will be a more overall introduction on how you yourself can get started and utilize these tools. So I'll give a very brief introduction to it for a beginner's guide. But please note that if you really want to do it, utilize the tools that which is available on YouTube and the like, where people are going through step by step, and you can stop the video and do the things. So what I'm doing here is more for the beginner to have a chance for doing. There is some requisites. You need to have Python, you need to have Conda environment, and you need to have some kind of API for your large language model. Again, it's instead of me doing and walking you through it, this is a lot easier to see on a separate video. I know some of you have, this is easy peasy, and for some of you it's maybe not. That's why I take the liberty to show it. And I will also, again, not actually go through how to set up your environment, but just for people who is not familiar to read these text of how you are doing it. It's your terminal. So if you're in Windows, you should type terminal in your search field, or you can also do it in a Mac or Ubuntu. But if you're in Ubuntu, you know terminal Windows. And that's where you actually should put these lines of codes as they are written here into your terminal and execute it. And very often there will pop up mistakes. Again, for people who's not familiar with it, one easy peasy way of besides looking at the videos, then please use ChatGPT or another large language model of your liking to ask it with the failure codes, and it will be able to guide you through the installment, would I imagine. Once you have installed AutoGen, what you will have is a picture, something like that, where you have a build. That's where you actually are doing the stuff. A playground, that's where you're executing the stuff, and the gallery where it's more or less just showcasing your stuff. And what you have is that you have skills, agents, and workflows. And I'll again only just very briefly so that you know what you could expect if you were in the like of actually utilizing it. And please remember, this is beautiful. One of the beautiful things is that it's open source and thereby free. So you can always use it and join it. So skills is that you are through this, what you have here, and where it's a description of a skill on creating ASCII art is Python code. So here you would put in different Python code. Again, either have your large language models or yourself with your skills, putting in whatever new skills that you think that your agents could have use of. Once you have the agents, then you have a specification of those. And it's, I mean, giving it a name and a description. The one I hope you can see my my cursor. The max auto replies is here set at 8. It's one of the quite important small things to get used to setting, because as you are utilizing your API call for whatever large language model that you like. Then it costs you money when you are running these programs, and unless if you have a very high number here, not very often, but quite often, you would have the problem that one agent is talking to another agent and saying, "Would you please do this?" And the other agent will say, "Yes, of course, I would love to," and but then failing in doing it, and then this small Schauspiel will repeat and repeat and repeat, and nothing is produced. So this is your way of ensuring that you don't just spend all your money on nothing. Another way of doing it is human input. Here it's set at never. That is ensuring that you can get a prompt every time that there is a critical or a point where a certain agent is doing something, or you can say, okay, I'll let the model run itself, and then you have a system message where you can talk about the agent behavior. And in the bottom you can see skills. The skills that we just saw before, is you can add them in here. And finally, you have the workflow, where you can set up, and here it's very hard to see, I know, I'm sorry, but it's like there's one column and another column, and the one column is user proxy. That's the agent which you represent. It's the one which is setting it the whole shebang in motion, the whole flow in motion. And then you have here a receiver, a primary assist, which is then the one taking some of the actions. But this can, can be, of course, done in different ways, where you're actually saying, okay, the user proxy will give it to a planner, which is then making a plan for whatever actions they should be taken, and the engineer is taking it and executing it, and then some critical point. And all of that is what is happening within the playground when you are executing your code. And you can either have where you can actually see the conversations between the agents while they are doing it, or in this, you can have it as it is shown here, where it's just executing and you just get the results in the end. But it is interesting, and a very important part of it is to really understand how the different agents are interacting with each other, because that's where the art of doing this correctly is coming up. Yeah, and yeah, maybe this is a little. The point is, of course, you can also have that you can teach the agents things. So here you have a situation where you have an agent which is up in this snippet where he says, "My name is Ricky," and in the next session, because he told him he's Ricky, and because the text analyzing agent was looking at the text and say, is there anything important that we need to remember for the next time? And he thought the name was important. Then the next time the user is coming online and saying, what's my name? As if he doesn't know. And he's saying, hi, Ricky, how can I help you today? My point again here is that this is a field which is expanding and evolving very, very quickly. This is actually one of the older tricks in the books of what is happening on AutoGen. But it's also an example of how you could see the agents more like assistants, and that you need to, in the same way as if you had a good assistant for your shop, you would sometimes have to relearn the assistant some skills. You could see that a certain interaction with a certain customer didn't went well, and you can then go in and look and ask what happened and find out, and in that way teach your agents to do better. And I think in many ways this is hopefully one of the tool sets we have, and one of the use cases we can think of in order for actually coming back to the future, and some of the use cases that we have left, but maybe would all enjoy if they were still there. So that was my small presentation and my small introduction thing here. If any of you are in a company or a situation where you would actually like us to make a small demo bot or something else, then please send me an email, DM me, because I mean I'm not sure I will include the film, but I do know that playing around with this and actually seeing it concretely for your specific company or your specific situation is in reality very often what makes it far more tangible and useful, and therefore it's yeah, I think it's important at times to actually play around and try it out. So with that small ado, I'll stop sharing my screen and hopefully have some questions.
Thank you, Mark.
All quiet.
Yes, it's very very quiet in the chat. I mean, you make it seem very easy to install. So I can't help wondering, you know, is there some more good advice to getting started well? And can you install this on any computer, no matter how it's run, or any image?
Yeah, I mean, there's Docker versions of it, and you have. I mean, any computer, I don't know completely, but I mean, all the versions of Linux, I don't know. But my imagination is, yes, it's available for any computer, first of all. And second of all, I honestly think that it's not so hard because you actually have people who has been doing it on videos, and that's why I really want people to try it out themselves. I really think that it's a possibility, and it is in reality not as hard as one could imagine. I have tried a lot, which is a lot worse than this.
Okay.
And you have actually a user interface. I mean, it's still something where you have to say port and then get a port and stuff like that. It's not a normal executable in Windows where it just pops up. That's for sure. That's also not the case.
I've definitely
And
run in that security can block it. I also see a really good question from Henri Schulte here in the chat. He's asking how stable AutoGen is in your experience, and if you would feel, comfortable running it in production for a big enterprise, or just running in production.
I mean, this is actually a very, very good question, and is one of the problems or one of the issues that we are dealing with on an ongoing basis, and not only with AutoGen, but in general also with large language models. I mean, the whole shebang that I went through, you actually have exactly this issue, and I mean, there's a paradigm part of it, of the question, and then there's a computer science, how stable is it part of the question. But I honestly would like to start with the first one, with the paradigm, in the sense that we came from, I mean, it's a year ago, before large language models. Everybody would be working in decision trees kind of things when you were doing stuff with data or anything else, that you were making different components for different items, and it had to be formatted, it has to be cleaned, and it had to be done in a certain manner, which meant that everything had to be, humans adapt to the computer and not the other way around. Now, as a small example, we have one of our chatbots up on a beauty parlor shop, which is offering different services for beauty, but part of their offering is on giving training to new people who wants to learn the trade of working in a beauty parlor shop. And of course, the first day we had the bot up and running, I think it was almost the first person who came and asked was saying, okay, how much does it cost? And that's not part on the website, and we had not trained it on this data. So our bot was saying, 3,000 kroner a day, and it's 3 days. It was in reality 4 days. So 9,000 kroner. And the reality was, I don't know, 3-4 times that amount. So, I mean, this is honestly the problem that you're facing right from the get-go. That you have a system, a bot, everything which is working on probabilistic terms, and that always will deliver something. It will, I mean, whether it makes sense or not, I will give you something because you asked so nicely. And that's the main issue you have with all of this. Then when we are talking about putting AutoGen in production, and whether it's, I mean, I again, there is different definitions on what kind of issues and kind of environments you would really put in production, and it's on the borderline. I mean, definitely, it's a field which is moving fast, definitely. But on the other hand, it's as long as you are not doing it with really critical things, and I would definitely not encourage that. Then I honestly think that it's good to learn and good to play and try out. I hope that was a sufficient answer.
I see also that we got one more question from someone, and he asked if you can elaborate on your point of bots interacting with bots without yielding any valuable results. Can you give any examples of this, and also how to avoid it?
Yeah. Actually, I will also expand this question to a slightly an example of what you can do, a small example of how to program these bots. Because if you're doing it, just off your cuff and setting them up in motion, again, the same kind of situation as I explained. If there's something which is not really existing, then it's doing something, and that's the other one doing. And I mean, we all know that when I was saying, would you please, and could I? It's all this polite thing, but sometimes it just becomes a loop and goes nowhere, because what you're often doing is that you have a planner which is saying do this step, then you have somebody who's actually supposed to do the step, and then you have a quality controller or something of that nature which is saying, okay, is it actually living up to the intent of the step that the planner was giving? And if this one is saying no, it's not, it has sometimes a tendency to just go in a loop and go nowhere. And one of the reasons why it does that, and one of the tricks that you sometimes has to do, is to say large language models is a conversational tool. It's something where you're talking with it, and that's intent of it, which means that the answers has a tendency to be this, yeah, thank you very much, may I, blah, blah, blah. But there are times where you should actually tell your bots, give a yes or no answer. Because at some times you actually want to go back to the if then or else kind of situation that normal computer or the regular computer has been doing. Because you are in certain situations where it's really good to have that clarity, and that's one of the things that you have to tell your bots, that in this particular way, you are the quality guy is only going to say yes or no. It's not going to say blah 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 blah, because sometimes that's hurting more than progressing the program.
Okay, so if I had to iterate it, can you say that language models are so good at finding some sort of answer that their loop can be infinite without getting anywhere, because they'll just keep chatting and chatting and chatting?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Definitely. And again, that's the paradigm we have as the old paradigm where it was if then. It was very rigid, and this is very, very loose and mellow. And in reality, the ideal situation, the ideal solution is utilizing both camps. That you are sometimes using classical code, execute, be very rigid, and sometimes you are accepting that this is probabilistic, and sometimes it goes in a direction which is not really useful. But other times it's doing something with the analysis of the text, which would be hard in the old paradigm.
And so in the AutoGen interface, yeah, is it possible to then instruct one to be yes, no, or very rule based, yeah, and one to be far more creative?
Yeah. You can in the skill set, you can do some settings and have it actually do that. But normally, when I said yes, no, I would do that in the instructions of the bot. So I mean, again, what you're doing is that you're creating a team, more or less. I mean, again, it depends. It's not these 1,000 bots from the get-go. It's small units, but you're doing these teams, and the idea is to say, okay, you can instruct the same way as you're doing with ChatGPT and whatever. When you're just, please give me a picture, then it's a picture, and you're not expecting it to blabber too much, or don't explain what you're doing, just give me the text or something like that. And when you're doing the same here, saying, okay, you're only allowed to say yes or no, then you are putting a constraint on the bot, which means that it can, what you normally would do, you need to have some customer data in the customer database. So you have somebody who's reading the conversation and want to find out, is there actually something which would be useful to have in the customer database? And the one who is analyzing that, you would say, is there something which should come in the customer database? Yes or no? Because you don't want this bot to say blah, 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 blah. You just want a straight answer. And once you have got the straight answer, then you can move to the next part of your programming and say, okay, find me the important part. In the case with the name, give me the name, and only the name. And so, I mean, there's a craftsmanship in making these bots and the interactions, because it has this more wild nature to it.
There's no more questions in the chat. I think from my side, I would ask, how does this work in an enterprise environment? There are many enterprise environments where we're not allowed to install Docker, not even Conda. How do we even then get started? I mean, is this something, can we install this on our cloud? What is the way to go when you also have enterprise security?
Yeah. And I mean, the enterprise security differs for different companies under different circumstances. You have the whole EU, be an EU part and not share with, which means that you should run your own large language model hosted locally rather than have it in and out and all of this. And so again, the question before putting it into production environment, this is a large component of this, which I did not reply to before. But of course, there is a lot of situations where you can say, okay, that was it, out of question. We can't do it. And there is certain situation and certain environments where it does make sense and where you can then, make sure that the large language model that you're utilizing is run locally, and you can do these kind of things, but it's very much something where you are in dialogue with the customer that you are having, and what kind of risk and what situation and what kind of data that they are dealing with.
All right. Well, if there's no more questions, then I'm going to say thank you for a very efficient walkthrough of AutoGen and a good story. If people would like to look for resources on how to get started with this, anything that you would recommend?
Yeah, I can. I don't have them on hand, but I can send send you immediately some YouTube videos and stuff. And I honestly think that. I mean, for me, it's been a huge help. I do also think that use your large language model. I mean, honestly, whenever you get stuck, and you do get stuck in these where you get an error where you have no clue what it is, and especially when you're in the terminal. And then chat is actually always a good partner in crime.
Well, then thank you so much, Martin, for taking part.
Welcome.
And thank you to everybody else who took part. We'll make sure that the recording goes up on our Fabric page and on YouTube. And if there's anything else, please do reach out.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you to everybody.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.